Hi, everyone. Today I'm back and I'd like to talk about weaving. Weaving is a tradition all over the world and used to make baskets and rugs and shawls and all kinds of things, but a lot of artists use it as well in their work. So I brought you some examples of a little bit of different kind of weaving. This is a weaving by Thomas Nakata that I saw at the De Young Museum a little while ago, and it's made out of pieces of old photographs. He was from Hawaii and he learned weaving there. He lives in the Bay Area now. And he combined different weaving traditions from all over the world to make these patterns and said that he was uniting the world as one. This is a weaving by a Colombian artist, Ceci Arango, and it's called Basur Oro. So I think that that means basura in Spanish is garbage, trash, and oro is gold. And she has woven this from, what do you see? Those are old tin cans, old like soda cans and stuff. And she's cut them up and woven them together and called it sort of a trash gold. You have to be careful if you weave those because those can be really sharp. And here's a picture of the artist with one of her weavings with metal. So, what do people normally weave? Normally, they weave textiles, right? Fabrics and yarns. You make a rug or a shawl, it's out of something soft and a fiber. But these are metal. And this is Aymar Copacabana. He grew up in the United States and in Peru. And he was of Aymara heritage in Peru. So his grandmother taught him their traditional weaving practices. And he decided to weave out of trash bags because he noticed that litter and especially plastic bags was becoming a big problem in Peru and all over the world. And he thought that he could make something beautiful about that and also make people think about reusing things. And I have a little video to show you that explains how he did this.
My name is Aymar Copacabana. I'm 38 years old. I work with recycled materials like plastic in my art. We went to a moving store to get the pallets that we changed into the heddles.
So I imagined you here all night building a loom. I had no idea what this was going to look like. This is really cool.
We went to a hardware store because sometimes we need real heavy-duty deal things like pulleys that you can't easily find in the trash. And then we went to a local supermarket to get all of their 1 day's worth of shrink wrap, with which we made the whole loom. And that was just 1 day's worth of their shrink wrap. Every day, that much shrink wrap comes to Santa Fe for one store. And that's kind of the larger picture, is like the worst thing people can do is assume that big companies have taken care of this for them, and therefore we don't have to do our part. We all have to do our part. The city here in Santa Fe or in other places outlawing a plastic bag doesn't mean, oh, it's dealt with and I don't need to think about this. There's so many things where you could get lulled into a sense of reassuredness that it's all being dealt with, but then you've been ployed and you've been lured into this mass marketing thing where you just mindlessly continue consuming. And they don't want you to hear like, don't buy. I'm not saying don't buy. Go buy stuff. Just bring your own bag. Bring your own coffee mug. Refill things. Some of the spiritual lessons of my ancestors in Peru go that some of our essence, our spiritual essence, is on everything we've touched along the way in life. So if you followed that through to its logical conclusion, how many to-go cups have passed through your hands this year, 12 months? How many straws? And on and on and on. So it would take up the back of your car's worth. If it could all just fall on you right now by accident, everything you touched this year and threw in the trash, You know, how much of that should have gone into recycling instead of the trash, and now it's in the landfill instead of being turned into your next plastic cup. So it's an obsession, and it's not always comfortable, but it's more than a hobby, and it's good for people to think that way. It's important, and if more people thought that way, I wouldn't have to be so obsessed. Weaving, because it's the closest way I had from my tradition in the Andes Mountains. It's the closest tradition I had with which to address the plastic. So it's the tool I chose. I've also done experiments where it's visual art with the plastic. So it's not just weaving, but weaving is the most obvious spot where I'm uniting past and present and future. One of the things that the weaving loom made out of recycled materials does, or one of the visions it holds, is that it can trap pieces of plastic. It's a place to put handfuls of plastic refuse that would be blowing in the breeze, so if in the right moment a plastic bag blew in with the wind, it would get trapped in the loom and stuck in the weaving, and then it would be in the museum again. So it's a better place for it, and my work kind of does that. It looks for ways to encase or encapsulate the plastic.
So Aymar Copofatti makes all kinds of things out of those plastic bags, but here is a chuya for a new leader he made. It's a traditional hat in Peru. And this one is 10 feet tall and it's hanging in a museum. And he made it out of knitted plastic bags. This is El Anatwi, and he is from Ghana, but he works in Nigeria, in Africa, and he makes these weavings and sewn together tapestries that he hangs on the wall or from the ceiling out of old metal bottle tops. These are things that he was looking around and he saw them on the ground, litter everywhere. And he started thinking, what could I do with them? How could I use them? Like the plastic bags. So he's made these incredible weavings out of them. He has a whole team of people that help him do this. This one's called In the World, but Don't Know the World. And these are huge. If you go to the De Young in San Francisco, sometimes they have one of them hanging up and you can see it. And they're really, really neat to look at. So we've seen several artists that work with weaving and weave mostly non-traditional materials. So they don't weave yarn or fabric or something, but bottle tops or plastic bags or metal. So today we're going to do some weaving too, and we're going to weave paper. So I brought you some things to show you how to do this. Here's an example of some weaving with some paper and some magazine paper. And here's some with just all magazines. You can weave anything, anything at all. And I have one more example. This one has all kinds of things in it. It has some fur and a pipe cleaner, some cardboard, different types of paper, photograph. So you can weave anything. Now let me show you how to do it. You need a piece of paper. So this is a simple weaving. We're going to use 2 pieces of construction paper. And I drew a line across the top and these lines down. And this just shows you where to cut. You're going to take one piece of paper and you're going to cut it. This is what happens after you cut it. So you don't cut up here. You just cut these little lines and don't cut them all the way to the top because you know what will happen. It'll fall apart. Then we open this up and this is going to be what we weave. Now you can put the pencil lines on the back so you don't see them. And now with your second piece of paper, you need to cut it into strips. So I cut some strips off of it. So I cut them this way, this length, so that they are the same size as this. Now what you do is you just go in and out. Put it in. So over this piece, under this piece, over the next piece, under, over, under. You just keep doing that. Till you get it all the way through. See, just like that. Easy. Then you take your next piece and you do the opposite. So you don't go like that. Then you would just have, it would be the same, right? We want it to be woven. So this time you go under, over, under, over, under, over. So it's opposite. So you should see a checkerboard pattern. If you don't, that means you didn't go opposite. Look, I stopped somewhere in the middle. I got confused. So you just pull it back out and make sure you're going over, under, opposite of what's on top. See? So you're making a checkerboard pattern. And you just keep doing that. And you can stick to the same two colors, or you can add other. I could add a green one next if I wanted. This one isn't a checkerboard. It's all little zigzags. So you know how I did that? Instead of cutting straight lines, cut zigzaggy lines. All the way down, but not all the way down. Leave that inch at the bottom and start cutting at the folded end. Doesn't work if you do it the other way. So now we have these, and we can weave this, and it's going to make a different kind of pattern. So, and see, it starts to make a pattern, but it's not a checkerboard like this one. It's more of a irregular pattern. So the choice is yours. You can do whatever you want and get creative however you'd like. Use different materials, use cut up pieces, all kinds of things. I can't wait to see what you make.